Welcome to episode 303 of the Grip Strip Podcast, the Daytona Dreams and Carnage edition of the Grip Strip Podcast. My name is Philip Matthew. I'm your host, and as always, I'm with the iRacing Indy 500 champion, computer genius, a gentleman and a scholar. His name is Josh Fine. What's going on, man?
I'm doing great, Phil, of course. Yeah, Daytona's back, NASCAR's back, so hell yeah. But the Daytona 500 was a really interesting race, and yeah, lots and lots to talk about that, of course. And yeah, the iRacing Daytona 500 for me, of course, did not win, but at least we can call me a 22 lap leader of the iRacing Daytona 500 during one of the runs that I had over the weekend. So at least there's that. We led a significant chunk of laps there. So that was kind of interesting. So yeah, ready to get into it.
Yeah, plenty to discuss in the 500 itself. They were basically racing against the rain, but it seemed like for most of the race they weren't really worried about rain because they were running at half throttle. Which when you have Kenny Wallace, who can't make a coherent thought without going and repeating himself, he's like the Charles Barkley of NASCAR social media. Just repeating himself over and over again and then not making a coherent point. But we'll make some coherent points here about Tyler Reddick going and getting it done for MJ and Denny. Chumba Casino now has won two of the last three signature races, so to speak, the crown jewels of the sport. Bubba won at Indy. And of course, now Tyler Reddick is a Daytona 500 winner. Brad Keselowski, was trying to get his first Daytona 500 and got blocked, wasn't very happy with it. Joey Logano ended up finishing in the top five in his first full points race as a cue ball, being the new Jeff Bodine, I guess, or Todd Bodine of NASCAR. Instead of sliced bread, we can call him chin strap. But, he got through it. He wasn't too pleased, but a lot of people got destroyed in that race late, early, in between, 5 laps into the race when you had a start and park, go and have mechanical problems and stuff. So we'll get into everything that went on in the Daytona 500, get into the key players and points and whatever, because there's definitely you can see the difference in the points. If you had a bad day at Daytona this past weekend, you're really up against it. You have a huge points gap to make up, and that also takes into account the dual races. If you finish in the top 10 of the duels, there was points given out in that. So it was essentially like an extra stage. So we'll get into all that. The Xfinity race, or O'Reilly Series race. My apologies. That dude used to work for NASCAR. Interesting. All right. It'll be Hank Hill. That's another win. It was really not much of a thing there. It was his car was the fastest car. It was either him or Jesse Love. There were really very few people that put up any resistance outside of that. So that race was kind of a mad deal. There's more stories in regards to what happened within the race or whatever. But we'll see with that. And then in the Truck Series, Craftsman Truck Series had Chandler Smith in a 4-wide finish coming off of turn 4, going and getting the victory for Front Row Motorsports. And that's a huge points day for him and for that organization's second win in recent years for Front Row Motorsports in the Truck Series there. And so we'll get into all the news, different drivers that have been announced for upcoming races. Ty Dillon is going to be driving the 25 truck this week. So a big drop off in talent and skill from the guy that they had driving it on Friday, even though he really didn't have a chance to show it. We'll kind of give you an update recap on some of the testing in IndyCar F1, any other news in the world of motorsports that is pertinent. And then we'll get into Rally Sweden. That was a very strong, solid rally that was a Toyota benefit. Jeddah had a Formula E doubleheader, so one with a pit stop and then one with the regular setup. AMA Supercross was at Seattle last week, and they'll be at Arlington this week. We'll make our picks for all three series at Atlanta and preview those races, and Tate Fogelman will be back. The algorithm is back for this week, and then we'll have some time to rest until Talladega in April. But Josh will let us know how things went for him. More detail in the Daytona 500 in the sim segment, and call it a day. So yeah, let's get into it. The Daytona 500, 68th running of the Great American Race. What was a race that honestly there was excuse me, a lot of leaders. Of course, there were only 5 cautions for 32 laps, and so 3 of them for cause. 3 big incidents. One of those incidents which basically melded into the second stage, that ended the second stage at one of the 3 big wrecks. So there were 4 for cause, 1 for a stage break. For in most of the field, I mean, you look at this in the end, 35 cars or 36 cars were running essentially at the end of the race. So I mean, it's pretty crazy to how that race went, just under 3.5 hours, considering they're running half throttle for a good amount of it. You had some guys that were able to salvage days. But in the end, Tyler Reddick, he led 1 lap. He led a few thousand feet of the race, and it was the most important part of the race. He made 2 great moves, one with an assist from Herbst, drafting on the backstretch. Then he made a big slingshot maneuver, kind of hanging Zane Smith out, getting Clyde on the inside. Clyde, if he had tried to turn across his nose, he was going to go in the grass, and he said it in his post race that he was going to end up, destroying him and Tyler Reddick. So it would have probably given Ricky Stenhouse the win, which ironically, if it had been called in previous, the way NASCAR used to call some of these races, which is something we'll talk about actually, the way that they handled the races this past weekend seemed a little bit different than it had been. A lot more trust in the drivers to actually finish the job and manage themselves coming back to the flag, compared to the past, and then just kind of re-racking, adding more laps and causing more wrecks. But for Tyler Reddick, he didn't win last year. It was a very difficult year for him. You count, Denny Hamlin in his own separate category with everything going on with him. Then you had the lawsuit for 2311 going on. Then Tyler Reddick's second child, they had There were some health concerns and problems there for his second child. So you got all these things going on to go out there. He's a free agent. He's a top free agent probably in the series because of course Kyle Larson just signed for 5 more years. So I think Reddick is the most viable guy based on age, based on talent, and to go out there and get a signature victory, start the year off, get his first win in a while, give MJ a Daytona 500. I found it quite interesting there, in the post race, seeing Jim France actually walk in a victory lane and shake the hand of Michael Jordan. So, tells you things are different now. Once MJ was willing to go and try and take him to the cleaners. But Tyler Reddick, I think two of the happiest times I've ever seen Michael Jordan in his existence, being one of the greatest athletes of all time, is one celebrating with Bo at Talladega, playing around with Bo when Reddick won there, and then this race here, winning the Daytona 500. It's a huge deal, and he led one lap. His other regular driver led the most laps, and had a chance to possibly get that elusive Daytona 500. His fourth driver running limited races led 8 laps. Outside of the god awful block that Riley Herbst threw late, he made the push, one of the pushes that helped Tyler Reddick win. So it was a big day for 2311, if you count the fact that Zane Smith won his first career stage win. Front row was able to get a couple of cars in the top 11 there, even after they had one of their cars DNQ out of in the duels with Chandler Smith, but he ended up making up for it on Friday. But yeah, a lot went on here. Reddick, Stenhouse, Richard trying to go for that second Daytona 500 in the Chef Boyardee car. Cue ball, chin strap, pizza face, whatever you want to call Joey Logano. William Clyde Elliott the second. Brad Keselowski, your top 5. Zane Smith, Christopher Buescher, who started tailback, got stage points in both stages. Riley Herbst, Josh Berry with a top 10, and then Darrell Walsh Jr., who won stage 2 and led the most laps in this race. Other people who scored stage points: Gagson, who was 11th, Byron, who was involved in, I think, every incident in the race, major incident sans the last one, but somehow or another was in a position to possibly win 3 consecutive Daytona 500s. He finished 12th. Nacho Libre got stage points in both stages. Kyle Busch was on the pole, led 19 laps, but in the end, once he lost his help in Austin Dillon, it didn't seem like he was in the same place, and he also basically backed out of it, telling Pullman that he wasn't trying to go and get wrecked. Cody Ware was involved in one of them incidents because, of course, he would be. Hurricane Hocevar was leading, coming across for the white flag, but ended up 18th. McDowell, who was trying to do some sort of extreme fuel save deal, didn't work out for him, ended up 22nd. Priest ended up driving backwards back to the line to be the last car on the lead lap. John Hunter Nemechek, Blaney, and Corey Haim, of course, not scoring any stage points because he's not a regular. Austin Cindric, who finished second in stage 1, and then Bowman, who finished 40th. there, those are all the people who had stage points. Some of the people who got absolutely nothing out of this deal are the likes of Todd Gilliland, Austin Dillon, Chase Briscoe, who led the 23 laps, second most laps led on the day, and comes out of Daytona with 1 point. It seems a lot like Tony Stewart's circa 2002. Had a car that could have won the damn race, comes out finishing 36th. Bell got wrecked late with Hamlin. He seemed to be a dart, to be fair. He was one of the many that seemed to be out there. He shoved his car up there, and Allgaier was late on the block, and then they caused a big one. There was the wreck that was caused by the 78 car that affected Reddick, but it also Byron. Then the wreck on lap 86 that took out the 19, and the 3 was kind of triggered by a combination of the 40, the 51, and the 88 with Connor Zilic being up there. You know, a lot of the younger guys that don't have as much experience in these cars, or guys that don't drive these cars regularly, got into that incident. Took Briscoe out, took Keebler out, and then Dillon drove right into the left side of Briscoe's car. I think if he had gotten out of just with the right side damage, I think he still might have been okay. It's when, Austin Dillon just drove right through him, destroyed the whole left side of his car too. So that's where he lost all that time, having to go back to the garage and repairs Bass Pro Shops Toyota. And then the big one, but I'll let you in. I've been talking for a while. So thoughts on, I guess, everything that went on, the fuel saving aspect of it, thoughts on maybe remedies that you may think might exist, and Tyler Reddick and Toyota getting another Daytona 500 victory.
Yeah, I mean, I think, with the fuel saving thing, I think that was probably the biggest aspect, the biggest, I guess, negative to this race. And, I mean, I think to me, the fuel saving aspect, I mean, it's really a, byproduct of the amount of drag that's in this car, because it's hard, to be able to make a move on your own. We saw in the old, the old car, you could pop out of line and make a move and then get back in within a reasonable time frame. If you couldn't find a spot, you were going to drift back. But this one, it seems like it's almost instantaneous. Like if you go and no one else goes, then you're parachuting to the back. And that's also kind of, when you look at like how this race is when they're racing the leader up front, it's just, I mean, look at the finish. Chase Elliott got pushed out pretty far by Zane Smith, but they stalled out in the middle of turn 3 and 4, and Tyler Reddick was able to catch back up to them. But even then, as Tyler Reddick was passing, he lost his help, and if it weren't for Riley Herbst trying to make it 3 wide, we might actually be talking about Brad Keselowski winning this race there. So there's that possibility, or even just a 3 wide finish there. So with regards to the fuel strategy, I mean, I think the cat's out of the bag. They're not gonna, even if they change the rules or whatever, they change the package, less drag, more horsepower, whatever, that's not completely ever going away, because the general strategy is always going to be to take less fuel at the end of the race there, and every stop is going to be optimized to optimize that final pit stop and everything. And you see it in other things. They talk about the Indy 500. There's fuel saving there. People are saving fuel during that. But I think also it's just the options, right? Because it shouldn't just be everybody on the same strategy, right? Because you see everybody's all running the pack. I think it's unique because it's pack racing and all that, but everybody's effectively doing the same strategy on saving fuel. And the only difference is the driver's ability to save whatever they can, and the different fuel mileage ratios that they're getting from that. And we saw with Michael McDowell, he was getting I forgot the exact number, but they went like 160 miles on one tank of gas there. So they went a far long time without needing to stop. So they were able to do a masterful job, and especially because I think at one point, towards the end that on that final cycle, they're effectively, I think, running by themselves or running in a smaller pack. So they didn't have the advantage of running in the bigger pack towards the end before that final caution or final restart there. So you see, like, I mean, the Indy 500, like other teams, I think you'll see different types of strategies of fuel saving. I think ultimately, everybody is, but there's differences and exactly how much fuel, and I think ultimately they're planning on 5 to 6 stops in there. And I think for NASCAR, I think it's never gonna completely go away, but certainly like, okay, well, we're gonna see some guys like try this strategy or try a different strategy or whatever, rather than everybody kind of all locking on to the same idea there. I mean, one thing you could think of is like, okay, like regardless of like whether the amount of fuel that they needed to take on the last stop, like perhaps like one team tries to short pit, or I guess, I don't know, let's say it's like lap 140 or whatever, and like if you need to stop on lap, like say lap 160 of 200 to make it to the end, do you stop there, or do you try to go all the way to lap 180 or something, and that's how much fuel you'll need at the end to make it? I guess there's two different ways, because like one, like you're basically making your stop a lot earlier, and you're gonna have to like push and gain time ahead of the guys that pit later to make that strategy work, and versus like having a pit stop at the end, and being able to have like a short final sprint to the end. So especially since tires don't matter currently, or certainly less than what they would do at other tracks, so there's that aspect as well. So although I think they've been saying Daytona's been losing grip, and I think that's true. Daytona's been getting bumpier and getting a little bit less or grippy over the years, but still think that it's still possible to run for far long than what you normally do at other tracks and everything. So there's definitely that aspect of it. So I mean, I think like the answer is take drag out of the car, but I don't know how much horsepower can you really take out of it before they start running into the problems that they had a few years ago with cars flipping and all that stuff. So because then there's the whole safety liability stuff. So that might be one aspect. I saw Denny Hamlin talk about maybe they should take the Clash back to Daytona, or have something like that where they could just run a completely experimental package and allow teams to kind of experiment on what they could run in a race, I guess, in race condition at the super speedways. So that certainly an aspect that maybe they'll pursue, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, as far as Tyler Reddick there, honestly, it shouldn't be a surprise that he won at a super speedway or even the Daytona 500. I mean, you look at his career in Xfinity, won in Daytona in 2018, first race for Junior Motorsports, the closest finish in the history of NASCAR over Elliott Sadler, and then I think 2015 won the season opener for the Truck Series when he was at BKR. So definitely has had success at Daytona here in the opening weekend, and of course a couple years ago won the duel in 2024, won at Talladega 2024 as well. Similar style last lap incident, and was able to lead the last lap there. So he was definitely up there towards the end. Kind of got, I think, with the pit cycle. He was I think one of the only Toyotas to pit with other teams, because like there was that big Toyota group with Bubba Wallace, Denny Hamlin, I think John Hunter Nemechek, and Eric Jones, and a couple of other guys, Chris Bell, that all kind of pitted together, but they didn't get quite organized. And I think Reddick had pitted with other Toyotas or with one of the other Chevys or Fords, whatever, and then he kind of cycled up towards the front, and then the final 4-lap dash there was trying to make headway to get up into the lead. Wasn't able to quite do it there, but he got a push from Bubba Wallace there with I think like 2 or 3 laps to go, and then of course the final lap was in the mix, and then Hocevar tried to block, got bump drafted wrong by Eric Jones, spun out, and then Reddick got that help from Riley Herbst there to make the move on Chase Elliott there. So yeah, a lot happened there on that final lap. So definitely one of the more chaotic endings to the Daytona 500 that we've seen in quite a while. And this one definitely seemed different because of the points aspect changing, especially towards the end. I really thought that they were going to run green to the end. Of course they didn't. But then even the last lap, I thought Hocevar was going to be able to bring it back to the checkered flag, but of course that didn't happen. And then just seeing kind of I was really interested to see if they would still have a last lap crash, because okay, now you're thinking more about points rather than going all out for the win and everything. And I think you did see that with some drivers, Kyle Busch was mid-pack, restarted 11th, I think, but then kind of got overtaken on the outside lane when they went 3 wide there at the end. And then he just kind of 2 laps ago, he kind of just backed out of it completely. And it was in 29th or whatever. And then after all the crashing and everything, made it back up to 15th, only lost 4 spots after that final restart there. So that could prove pivotal here, in the coming months, especially because he's been one of the bubble drivers as well for the playoff and now the chase. So that could prove to be valuable once we get to, I guess, come back to Daytona in August for the cutoff race here for the chase. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, especially Tyler Reddick, of course, like you said, had personal problems last year, of course, with the issues that his son ran into. Of course, didn't win a race at all last year. 2311 kind of, other than Bubba Wallace running a little bit better and having the win at the Brickyard. I mean, they still had issues as a company overall with consistency and speed, and then of course the lawsuit was looming over their heads as well. And now all that's behind them, and now they open the year with a win, which of course if you look at the lawsuit, Front Row won on Friday. Richard Childress, not plaintiff, but certainly mentioned by name there Saturday, and then of course 2311 winning on Sunday. So yeah, kind of crazy how that played out. And then yeah, Tyler Reddick winning, of course, in the 45 for Michael Jordan. Yeah, pretty insane. And yeah, Michael Jordan has gets another ring, of course, after his basketball titles and everything. Now he has a Daytona 500 ring to go along with that. So yeah, pretty cool for that whole organization, and excited to see kind of how this season plays out now with this new format.
Yeah, it's going to be, and I think it's true what you said about how it might have affected that last restart and what some of the decisions that were made, like what Kyle Busch did there late. The fuel mileage thing too. Then he's basically saying, bring the Clash back to Daytona, use it as a test. Let's go and I think it would be better go one step further and make it a pole winners race and run a full, fuel run kind of number of laps. And then so then you're going to have tire fall off too. Because there were issues, and they were seen in all 3 races, especially coming up off of 4. There was issues on the transition. If you had a lot of wheel in it, it became more apparent. There was a lot of wind yesterday at the speedway, especially going into turns 3 and 4. So that affected things. But, and honestly, to come out of a Daytona 500, we've spent a lot of time on here talking about these drafting pack races, and I'm not generally a fan of them, never really have been. You're more of a fan, obviously, because of who your favorite driver was for so long and how good he was at it. But honestly, for what it was, the fact we were able to get it in, minus the fact that, basically my favorite driver got fucked, and then my second favorite driver had a chance and then was not there when it mattered, wasn't able to get there when it mattered, and then a couple other ones didn't have a chance. But Tyler Reddick is somebody that I've been a fan of going back to those BKR days, and it's a great point you made that he has won in all three. He's won the February race in all three major NASCAR series, which is pretty crazy to think. I think he's the first person to ever do that. Might be the only person that ever does it, to be fair, because Dale Jr. ain't going to get in a truck. I know that. And there's a bunch of other ones. McDowell, well, he hadn't won Xfinity, but nobody's going to win an Xfinity race unless you're in an RCR car, or O'Reilly race. But, let's see what happens with that. But yeah, we talked about the points. I'll go back to that. Here, the current point standings, Reddick has a 12-point lead over Logano, Chase Elliott, Zane Smith, Richard tied with Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher for fifth. Bubba Wallace, Carson Osavar, Ryan Blaney are top 10. The cutoff currently is Gagson. He's a point ahead of McDowell, 2 points ahead of Byron and Nemechek. And then Ty Dillon is in 20th. And in terms of the likes of, he didn't gain. Oh yeah, that's right. Jimmy Johnson he's on the bottom, even though, because he took the OMP or whatever. So he didn't even get any credit for anything. Briscoe is 37th in points. He led the most laps on Thursday in his duel. He led the second most laps in this race. And he's 37th in points. That is really fucking weak. He's 56 points behind, yeah. He has, what is it? Gain, loss, point. Okay, so he has 2 points. All right. Basically, act like you're throwing that one away. But yeah, we'll see what happens with another drafting track coming up this week at Atlanta, or Echo Park, or whatever you want to call it. O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. I'm going to keep this quick because I don't like Hank Hill, and I don't really care for RCR either. I'm curious as like the qualifying, because Anthony Alfredo didn't make it or whatever. So Alfredo ran a 50-23. Okay. All right. So that's part of the problem. His car was slow. I mean, Parker Retzloff ran a 49.94. So how could they're coming out of the same stable? How are they that slow? But, yeah. And the fact that they put, I freaking come dumpster into the field. Yeah, okay. So yeah, he bought that Caesar Baccarella car out so that he can run for points, but they'll be behind on points going into this weekend's race. But the United Rentals 300. I feel like I want to do this the way we used to do the F1 races. Hank Hill won both stages, won the race. Basically, I think the only thing he didn't get, was the fastest lap, right? Is 75 the maximum you can get?
Yeah, 75 is
in a
the
race
maximum.
because you get the 15 points, 55 plus the 20. Okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So there is no fastest lap thing anymore, I don't think anymore.
Well, no, it said
Um,
the fastest lap was Caruth on lap 88.
okay, so Raja got that point. All right,
Yeah.
that's cool. Um, so he got an extra point there. So yeah, Hank Hill maxed out points. Starts out the year with momentum after he right reared Eric Almirola last year and basically took himself out of the championship at Indianapolis. This year starts out with another drafting track win. Uh, Aforementioned Richard Childress wins the pole for the 500. They win this race again. Their two best cars in the field were the two RCR cars by far. Allgaier finishes second. Ryan Sieg, who had damage early in the race, was able to come back to finish third. Jordan Anderson hid in the back and then came through late. Sammy Smith was up and down all day. Ryan Ellis, great run for Ryan Ellis. Um, and that team, I'm forgetting what team that is offhand, but that's a great run for him. Carson Kvapil, who's going to be swapping between cars this year, finishes seventh. Blaine Perkins, one of his best runs of his career in general. So two Jordan Anderson vehicles in the top 10. Jesse Love, who led the second most laps, and then Rajah Caruth, who was up front good amount of the day. Anthony Alfredo, I said, was had to go and buy into the race because his car failed to qualify, driving the Baccarella car. Brennan Poole, driving a Roma sponsored car, was up front, was running second late in the race there. Retzloff got stage points. Sheldon Creed got stage points, but then he got in an accident. Jeb Burton. Sawalch got stage points in both stages. Buckshot Jones. Jeremy Clements had a really fast race car. He was up front. It's a shame, really. I think if Jeremy Clements had a chance, I think he really would have gotten a top 5 finish there. That's one of the best cars he's come out with in a while. They're a small organization, so I think things have changed up for them. I guess alliances and whatever. Jeremy Clements looked like a different kind of guy. Somebody who has won there and wanted to, like he's somebody who can win. And he knows it was an opportunity race, but unfortunately lost out on some points there. Yeah, I mean, had incidents for early in the race for Nick Sanchez, Gio Ruggiero, who's filling in that 19 before Brent Cruz takes it over. Dean Thompson lost some points there. Bad day for Harrison Burton as well. There were 7 cautions, so I guess 2 for stages. And then there's 1 debris caution. So one of those stage cautions was combined because was it Sammy Smith, Gio Ruggiero, Nick Sanchez, and then Sam Mayer, one of the incidents Sam Mayer was involved in. Early in the race, the Alfredo, the 38, which was driven by Emmerling, I think he triggered that one. Poole, Clements, and the 91 of Mason Maggio. But Clements was still able to come back up there, but then got taken out in one of the bigger incidents later in the race. Once we got towards the end, there was 2 huge incidents there. So yeah, I mean, Hank Hill won.
Yeah.
Whoop-de-doo.
No, I mean, yeah, whoop-de-doo there. I mean, not a surprise at all, and, I mean, yeah, they just keep letting Hank Hill get away with it. I mean, yeah, they got the better cars, but I mean, there was, one point, Jesse Love at least was trying to do something there, and then I think just the line that he was in just never got organized enough to make a run around Hank Hill, and then of course, once he gets away, it's really hard to get him back in. You have to really try, and then of course they were all fighting for second anyways after he got away from them. So just wasn't meant to be for Jesse Love here in the super speedway track. But for the rest of the field, I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, the whatever line, I think it was the top line that he was in, because there was a couple times they were able to get around Hank Hill there at the end. But I was that the junior motorsports cars were kind of all lined together, pushing the other line that um, Jesse Love was in. But then like Carson Quapple just kept making it three wide and towards like the back end of that, I guess, top 10 pack or whatever, and that was really affecting the momentum there and everything. And he kept racing for himself there and all that and everything. And so that was kind of disappointing to see. But yeah, Allgaier finished second, of course, and then Sammy Smith had I think he was helping Jesse Love there, but he just, I guess, yeah, they couldn't get a line together to make that happen at the end. But of course, yeah, Raja Caruth had a couple of incidents there, had a couple of spins throughout that, but they still managed to come back and finish 10th there. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely a race for sure, and yeah, Austin Hill won it. So yeah, yeah, not really too much you can say about that otherwise. Of course, the incident with Nally Decker there crashing into the big one. They're definitely meme worthy for sure. But yeah, not otherwise. I mean, it was pretty standard for what we've seen from the Xfinity race, and it's going to continue to be until the whole field figures out a way to get around Austin Hill and keep him there behind them. Not let him have an opportunity to get back to the front.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of. I mean, I was like, oh man, I'm missing the race, but I really wasn't missing anything. Um, because we basically said it on last week and called it. It's not like, I mean, let's be fair. For the last few years since these two have been together as a teammates, that's what this super speedway racing has become. Um, but yeah, the junior motorsports, I think somebody has to tell when you have Ronnie Childers on the box, you think Ronnie Childers would be like, hey, I know you want to take those runs, but you better know that you're going to actually finish something with those runs. Um, that's number one. I think also you look at Raja running for them, and that's going to be the other car that Quavel's going to be running. And it's like, it makes more sense for you to work as it's amazing to me for as great and as Dale Jr. is and Kelly Earnhardt and all the Miller and all these LW Miller, like at drafting tracks, they're like the absolute drizzling shits at organizing whatever, making a game plan for these guys. It always seems to go the shit the bed, like Allgaier knows because he's been at it for 9,000 years. So he's been at it and all in an ARCA car and Cup car at the 500, and then now he's done this Xfinity thing for like 100 years. So he knows it. But Sammy Smith knows he has limited opportunities because he ain't that good. So it's like, like at some point, those guys can figure it out. So like why is there a disconnect? And it's the same crap that happens to them during when they had this championship format too, the old format, where they figure out a way to get 3 out of 4 cars in and they can't close the deal. Like that's pathetic. I'm sorry for being the best team in the sport, which they are. JGR may have resources, whatever, this, that, and the other, but they don't have drivers. I mean, I guess Taylor Gray. Okay. But I'd rather have Carson Quapple. I'd rather have Allgaier, even though he didn't do himself any favors on Sunday. But I'd rather have Rajah Caruth um, over Taylor Gray, um, which probably is a hot take, but whatever. But Taylor Gray's probably going to be the one that gets the 11 car, but so I guess there's that. But, you know, and it's like at some point you have to have better organization. You know, this nonsense that RCR is able to dominate these races, fine. They have fast race cars. It's called push them, dictate strategy. It's the same thing as like what we were talking about earlier for the 500. Like run faster. At the end of the day, I mean, Kenny Wallace is like, oh, put a non-competitive pit stop. It's almost like an ARCA race with 25 to go. It's called no. There's people that want to run it out, you know? Run it like a road course race. I don't give a shit. Like make it, if we're gonna do it that way, let's run it backwards. How many times do we have to pit to get to where we need to go? And which way are we going to do it? Are we going to go tailback and run 20% throttle? Or are we going to run it full bore? You know, and at like Talladega, they won't need tires. Atlanta, they won't need tires. At Daytona, the way handling is they do. And that's for Hank Hill's a perfect example. He wasn't feeling great about his car, even though he had the fastest freaking car in the whole entire place. Haney goes and puts 4 tires on his car, puts fuel in it. He gets up to the lead in 3 laps. I mean, that was the decision right there, and it was over. So yeah, tires, handling definitely played a part. Huge start to the year for them. Good on that. We'll see if they can get 2 in a row to start the year at Atlanta. Echo Park, whatever the fuck you want to call it, Speedway, on Saturday. And all right, we'll move to the trucks. Here, Truck Series. Why is this loading slow? Yeah. The Fresh from Florida 250. There was a huge, big contingent in terms of entry list and, you know, people that made the show and big names that were a part of it. And you had Daytona 500 winners like McDowell and Richard. You had Travis Pastrana and his name was Cletus Mitchell on the entry list. Nice. That's funny. You had Hocevar. You had, you had Justin Haley, who's won Xfinity races at Daytona. Now O'Reilly Series races at Daytona. Smoke, of course. That's the big one for me. Clav Greenfield, they cut off the Y there. And Korev LaJoy, because they cut off the Y there as well. John Hunter, Jason Kitzmiller, who seemed to be a dart without feathers, especially in the ARCA race. Butterbean, he's another one that's got a lot of energy behind him. And then, yeah, I mean, in terms of the people I went home in this race, nobody that was like I guess for Timmy Hill would have been, it would have been good to have him in the show versus, I don't know, probably Chris Wrong or somebody like that. But, you know, he didn't have enough pace. Tomasi driving for, what do you call, the car long. Breitinger was too busy doing TikToks. Greg Van Alst had a really rough weekend. Didn't make the truck race or the ARCA race, probably because he got a bad draw. Because for some reason, ARCA uses group qualifying, which is absolutely idiotic. You know, here's a way to not get the best cars in the field. Go and make a pill draw for a group, and you get a bad group, you're screwed. But yeah, so this race, Majeski got another pole. He was up there late, had a chance. He had, this thing was efficiently run. It was only 6 cautions. Basically the wreck for Tony and Jake Garcia ended stage 2. So there was a couple. Hocevar blew a bunch of tires, which I thought was going to become a bigger problem, because if he was having that many issues with tires, I think he probably had a bad tire rub and they didn't bother to fix it right, which is entirely possible. But in the end, it was Chandler Smith who gets the victory over Gio Ruggiero, who then was able to go and make up for it on Saturday in the ARCA race. Christian Eckes was third. Ty Majeski fourth after starting on pole, got stage points both stages. John Hunter Nemechek. Richard finished sixth. Butterbean Queen. Caden Honeycutt, two guys that I would think would be contenders for this championship. Tyler Ankrum, and then Stu Ball rounding out your top 10. Guys who got stage points: Nick Lights, whatever. Ben Rhodes. Tanner Gray finished second in stage 1. Led 11 laps. Justin Haley tied with Michael McDowell and Carson Hocevar for most laps led. They all led 20 laps apiece. Oh, great for Haley, who's known as a super speedway racer anyways, driving one of these Rams. Taylor Gray got stage, but he doesn't race for stage point anyway. So Grant Enfinger, Lane Riggs had issues, had tire issues, got second in stage 2 to salvage what would have been otherwise would have been a horrendous points day. Garcia got loose coming off of 4 and then cleared up right into Tony. I forget, LaJoy blew up. Okay. Hocevar cut I don't know how many different tires. Cleus McFarland, Garrett Mitchell, 7 laps into the race, had a lot of wheel in the truck and got loose and left side slammed his Black Rifle Coffee Chevy right into the wall. And he was pretty bummed out about it. Not only making it 7 laps, he's like, I only made it 17 laps last year in the ARCA race, and I only got 7 laps today. Pastrana was busy giving him the grass because of all the grass, because the jokes they had from the one video with the Daytona International Speedway president, Chip, whatever his name is, going and saying that if they wrecked the grass, it would have cost them $250,000. But yeah, I mean, the storylines were a lot about Tony Stewart, Poot, Travis Pastrana, less, I think, about the regulars in the race. I think that'll become similar here in a couple of weeks at St. Petersburg, when you have legends like Hall of Fame legendary driver Dario Franchitti, and then a Fox actual analyst also, who also still does race once in a while, and James Hinchcliffe. They're going to make more of a big deal about that. I'm sure Adam Andretti is going to be in that race. Can only imagine who they'll have in that truck for the 25 truck for that one then. But yeah, I mean, in the end, you had a 4-wide finish coming to the line. John Hunter, I think, thought he had the race won. Stenhouse had a run, but it got blocked. It's interesting how that all worked out. But for Chandler Smith, I guess the seas parted and he was able to make the right move and get the job done. And a great start to the year for him. Great start to the year, as you mentioned, in terms of all these people who were part of that whole lawsuit. Front Row Motorsports got theirs as well on Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Friday night, pretty interesting finish there. And yeah, kind of this is what the Cup finish would have looked like, if they didn't crash probably. But, they were able, somehow the Truck Series actually raced, the finish at least was cleaner than the finish of the Cup race. But, the truck race, fairly efficient overall in terms of the wrecks and everything. Yeah, Cletus. I mean, sucks for Cletus because a lot went into it. But then he got loose off of turn 4 and spun out on very beginning of the race. A little bit disappointing for Tony Stewart to only come out of this 40 laps into it and wreck out. Not of his own doing, getting collected there. But looks like he sounds like if there's an opportunity, he might be back. So at least there's that to take away from that for for you and the rest of the Tony Stewart fans. I mean, I was definitely hoping that he would be around until the end there. But for everybody else in this field, I mean, yeah, great start to the year for Chandler Smith. I mean, Giovanni Ruggiero close there at the end as well. Christian Eckes up there as well. Ty Majeski. All these guys that are running hard at the end definitely had an opportunity. It was just the right amount of momentum there that they all needed to be able to make it to the line there. So it was I think I was running the iRacing 500 during this time, so only caught a little bit of it really. But Hocevar was definitely a player in this one, but of course, I had a bunch of flat tires there at the end and spun out and caused issues there. So, pretty exciting, finish to the truck race. Yeah, Pastrana had a good run as well. Frankie Muniz is solid. So some of these guys that aren't really known for their skill here had pretty good days overall. Chandler Smith. Good start to the year for them. So, we'll see what he's able to do here at Atlanta. And then, St. Petersburg is going to be a huge wild card for this series. So, curious to see what next couple of weeks, who out of these guys kind of establishes themselves as the point leader, I guess, for, however long they can hold it. Now Corey Heim's out of the field now. Who's going to be that next guy, I guess, in this field to, I'm not going to say establish dominance like Corey Heim did, but certainly take the mantle here and hold on to the point lead for a considerable amount of time and establish themselves as kind of the favorite to win this championship here. So we'll see how that plays out.
There is more intrigue, I think, with the truck series because there is different manufacturers involved here still. Basically, the Xfinity series is a bunch of Chevy teams, and then a smattering of Toyotas and a couple of Fords. Even in the Cup series, the saturation, the majority it's always been a majority Chevy, but now that saturation has gotten more to the point where there's like basically the same amount of Fords as there are Toyotas. In the truck series, at least, there's diversity amongst all the manufacturers. Each brand has a team. With Ford having Front Row and Thor Sport. You have Dodge, of course, with Colleague, with Ram brand. You have Toyota with Tricon. And then you have Chevy with McAnally Hilgeman. And then, to a lesser extent, Spire, because they're just going to be running all-star vehicles basically every week. They're going to run Kyle Busch a bunch, and then they'll run just insert name here, we'll put you in a truck. That's literally what they're doing. They're probably going to put Hurricane Ozavar in as many truck races as they can too. So there's that. So, I mean, I think the truck series, actually, there's actually hope. I for years I've kind of been on this road where I think like it was going to die, but I think Ram coming back and some of these other things has made it like there actually is a chance. They made some changes to the trucks aerodynamically, so they're less, skewed and kind of twisted sister like the Gen 4 era cars. So I think there's that. Think you got a lot of great late model and super late model drivers in this series. So I think with the points change, the championship format change, you're going to see those kind of drivers come up to the front and be able to make things happen. So the Majeskis, the Caden Honeycutts, Brendan Butterbean Queens, those kind of guys. And then you have, Jess Naley's a cup regular for how many years? This is an opportunity in his mind to go and be able to compete to win every single week. So this could be a stepping stone of sorts. If AJ Allmendinger decides he wants to quit and run limited races, or wants to go and be like, I'll go and dovetail my cup racing once in a while, and then I'll go and run it. He might just switch with his little brother there. That might be the angle, but so there's definitely opportunities, and it's nice to see with this series, considering how poorly it's presented at times. I mean, I guess Jamie Little did all right this past week. But I think Harvick and Logano really carried the broadcast itself. So, I mean, she's still not great, and then you can really tell that difference when you have like Eric Brennan in the call for the ARCA race, and how clean and how smooth everything was. And that's with Cletus McFarland being Cletus McFarland, and they were just playing along with it. Phil Parsons and Gumby Cindric. The fact is they were able to seamlessly transition off of Cletus screaming every time he got through a wreck and all that. Like, there's a difference. So I guess we'll get those gains later in the year once Fox is done with their portion of the schedule. When those guys get to go and call races, we might get better coverage, but we'll see what happens with that. So yeah, I mean, in terms of the point standings heading into this weekend, Grace Chandler Smith has a 22-point lead, or 20 or 20 or 19, 19-point lead on Eckes, 20 on Majeski, Gio Ruggiero, Caden Honeycutt, your top five, Brendan Queen, Leitz, who I don't think is running the full schedule, Ankrum, Fries, and Rhodes. Tanner Gray is 3 points out right now. Andres Perez de Lara, Cole Butcher. So, yeah, so we'll see how that all goes. Alrighty, so we will move forward. So, yeah, in IndyCar, that Formula One had their testing last week at Bahrain. There's been some takeaways in regards to that for some of these teams. The likes of, the engine issue between Red Bull and Mercedes. I guess Mercedes is playing the politics game because they're like, oh yeah, Red Bull has the same advantage. Oh, they're good too. Okay. So they're all kind of like, they're trying to play one angle, and then the likes of Ferrari and whoever trying to go and play the other angle. If they're the ones that are going to lose out on it. Aston Martin with Honda, it looks like they're on the back foot pretty bad, but Alonso believes in the program, probably because it's Adrian Newey, and that's about it. I mean, the fact that you got that freaking waterhead Lance Stroll to talk about anything is a miracle in itself. And because he sucks and he should never ride, but he's like, oh, we're going to be 4 seconds off. I'm like, well, there you go. That's what you need. You need daddy's money, the guy who has a ride because his dad owns a team, telling you that the car sucks. But, we'll see. I mean, I think part of the problem, their problem for Formula One is Fishlips has already come out and said this is like basically Formula E on steroids. He's saying this is more about energy management than it is about racing. You're spending more time trying to save deployment and all that stuff. You're going through corners super slow. Alonso said that his chef could go and drive the car through some of these corners. So that's not good. Lewis has had similar kind of comments, but I think in the grand scheme of things, I guess we'll find out more this week, but we definitely will find out in Australia in a few weeks' time. But as it stands, a Mercedes has a lot of reliability. The Red Fool car engine is in a good position as well. And the car seems drivable for both drivers. So Isaac Hadjar has a chance. And then, Mercedes, I think, has they're on the front foot. But also McLaren is there. And then Ferrari has reliability as well. So it seems like that is a good sign for those guys. Haas has shown some signs. Williams were still to be determined. I guess we'll find out more this week. The Toro Rosso team has had their moments. Cadillac is still figuring things out. I think really it's about and Audi, I think, they're kind of, we'll see some more from them this week. Curious to see what Alpine and what Aston do in the second week. So I mean, for IndyCar, they had their shakedown last week test, and they're gonna have more testing. They put out more commercials and stuff like that for Alex Palou, Will Power. Their Romain Grosjean will be back driving the 18 car for Dale Coyne Racing, so return to Dale Coyne Racing. So there's that. There's also, different premium. Yeah, the Chevy, the charters have been added, so there will be an additional charter for each manufacturer as part of they're going and recommitting to, or not only committing to providing power unit engines for this last year for 2027, but also starting in 2028 with the new 2.4 liter twin turbo engine. So that'll be something. Curious to see which Chevy team it'll be, but early signs are Meyer Shank for the Honda program. Bill Pappas is back with Dale Coyne, so that could be, minus the fact it's Romain Grosjean. All right, so yeah, we did that. Good article from Joey Barnes on motorsport.com regarding the new deal Chevrolet and Honda have with IndyCar. Cadillac use fake tires and wind tunnel testing. Okay. Juson Hamilton, who used to be a race director for NASCAR, is now the president of Alpha Prime. Ford and Cadillac's rivalry continues to be a pissing contest in the media. For Formula One, tweaked its steering wheel. That's McLaren for hybrid. Safety warnings at Trump driver complaints on 2026 cars. Then there was a huge crash during the Bathurst 12-hour which saw Ralph Aaron, Mercedes AMG driver. First situation in Bath. This is triggered by his spun in a blind section up the hill in the S's and the up in the top of the hill, basically top of the mountain. I have a lot of experience. I understand the risk. The situation was serious. I'd like to have a meeting and openness of race. It's not about pointing fingers. Emphasize that his post is not about blaming anyone, but understanding. Yeah, so I mean, seven time. Yeah, so I mean, there's got to be issues with the way that these Mercedes, when it comes to hitting. There's the stiffness of the car, the way these cars are made. Yeah, that's a lot of back injuries, but yeah, and then Christopher Mees drives for Ford. Unfortunately, went and ran into a kangaroo at 250 Ks. That's not good. So yeah, there's two massive accidents in the Bathurst 12-hour. Unfortunate, and probably better stewarding would have maybe prevented those. Ralph Boschong, driver, retired F2 race winner. I didn't know you. Oh, yeah. And then there's pitted 10 content creation. Oh yeah, that was in Formula E, and most of them all binned their cars, so that was cute. Izzy Hammond, following just like her dad, crashed the Lola Yamaha apt car. Evo Sessions is willingly brushed a wall. Arthur spun first big crashes and heaviest impact. Yeah, so so that's influencers and whatever. Yeah, that's cute. Yeah, so that's that. I like the fact that Izzy Hammond is following through on her dad's footsteps and crashing in his stuff. It's more interesting than most Formula E races are anyways, but I think that's the problem. When you have people, when you're putting influencers in your cars and you think that they're going to be able to drive them. And then, well, yeah, Kimi Antonelli went and wrecked his own company car, so that's not good. Top of that, immediate answers. Racing your email should have nostalgia. Can we get Rob Smedley? Yeah, can we get Rob Smedley back? Yeah, that would be. Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, so yeah, it doesn't work with Felipe, but Smedley had a great career, and Felipe Massa's a douche, anyways. But yeah, so let us see, where are we at? Where am I at? All right, got through all that, and let us move to the roundup. So GSP roundup, get a little Supercross in. This past weekend at Seattle, celebrating Super Bowl win. The results in the 250 category, of course, at was in the 250s was Deegan, another win. Levi Kitchen, Anstey, DeFrancesco, McAdoo. There were only 7 riders on the lead lap at the end of the 15-minute heat. So it tells you how fast Hayden Deegan was. I mean, him and Kitchen were having their own battle. They were close to probably lapping Voland if they had more time there. And then in the 450 main, Eli Tomac gets another victory over Cooper Webb, Justin Cooper, Hunter Lawrence, points leader coming into the race. Chase Sexton, your top 5. Malcolm Stewart gutting through injury, finished 6th. Plessinger, Savacci, Dylan Ferrandis for Ducati. Savacci doing really well on his privateer Honda. Ken Roxon ends up finishing 10th. I think he had an incident earlier in the main event that affected him. So that was part of the problem there. None of the betas made it in there. The points heading into the next race, I think there'll be an East. I'm assuming it's an East race for Dallas. For Arlington, Deegan has won 5 consecutive main events. After finishing 4th in the first race, has a 35-point lead on Max Anstey and 36 on both Moseman and DeFrancesco. And that's really where that championship is. I mean, we know he's going to win it. In the 450 championships, a little more compelling. Hunter Lawrence, 1 point ahead of Eli Tomac. Lawrence, who has 4 second places and 2 fourths, gets around the 3 wins, a 3rd, 4th, and a 12th. They're 1 point difference there between Lawrence and Tomac. Ken Roxon, Cooper Webb tied for 3rd, 11 points back, and then Chase Sexton's 18 points back in 5th. So that's the championship battle at the moment. Justin Cooper's on the periphery if he could have a big weekend. But the Dylan Ferrandis is consistent in the top 10 in points. So is Joey Savacci. A great job by both of those guys. Considering Malcolm Stewart has had 2 last place finishes in main events, to still be 12th in points is pretty sporty with the injuries he's got going on. So we'll see what happens at Arlington this coming weekend. World or Formula E was Jeddah. The results. So for round 4, which was the race with they had the pit stop, Pascal Wehrlein ended up starting 3rd, had the fastest lap, won the race. Eduardo Mortara started on pole, finished 2nd. Mitch Evans finished 3rd. Nico Muller, Antonio Felix da Costa, Nick Cassidy, Sebastian Buemi, Jean-Eric Verne, Jake Dennis, Taylor Barnard, your top 10 point scorers. In the second race, the regular race, Antonio Felix da Costa gets the victory over Sebastian Buemi, giving Jaguar-powered cars 1-2. Oliver Rowland, defending world champion, finished 3rd. Eduardo Mortara finished 4th. Dan Ticktum and his teammate Pepe Marti had issues, got into it. Marti said some stuff on the radio too. They were hitting a lot of stuff. But Pepe Marti, I think, hit Zane Maloney in both races. And then he also, I think, got into it with Dick Tantrum as well and their teammates. But Mitch Evans, Verline, Verne, Barnard, your top 10. The next race will be in a month, just over a month's time in Madrid. So the time, a little bit of a break for the teams and getting into the standings. Eduardo Mortara with P2 and a P4 result here in the Jeddah races is 6 points back of Pascal Verline. Oliver Rowland trying to defend his championship is 19 points back. Nick Cassidy's 20 points back. Mitch Evans 21. Nico Muller 23. DaCosta with his win gets himself to within 29 of the lead, along with former champion Jake Dennis. Buemi's in there in the top 10. That's the last one that kind of has a decent haul of points. So we'll see what happens there. I'm trying to see, is there... Go and see whatever's on the schedule. Yeah, so that's this coming weekend, the supercars. So supercars, all right. And then they didn't bother to put the rally on there. Upcoming events, so supercars as well. Okay, so we'll have to talk about that. Good catch. And then supercars for Sydney 500. Yeah, so new TV. That's one thing for the supercars. They have a whole bunch of new announcers for their broadcast. They got rid of the pairing of Neil Crompton and Mark Scaife after I don't know how many years they both have been involved in the broadcasting. Neil Crompton's been involved for like decades. So it's crazy that they're replacing them both, but have new presenters. But let me get into Rally Sweden. Efren Evans gets the victory in Rally Sweden, his third win or second win in a row, second year in a row he's won it, and third win overall in his career at this race. Great job by them. Great job by Toyota in general. Oliver Solberg trying to, defend, on his home round after an amazing rally. Monte Carlo definitely struggled on his home rally, but is in a position to it's still early days in the championship, so it's not like it's 2 rounds into the championship. It's not like everything is gone by not winning Rally Sweden, though it used to be a rally that was only really won by Scandinavian drivers, so it's interesting how that all works out. So the next round will be the Safari Rally in Kenya. Efren Evans will have a 13-point lead going into that round. Think he more or less maximized his points there here in Sweden. Takamoto Katsuda is third. Adrian Formeau, Terry Neuville, Ogier, of course, didn't run this race. Sami Pajari had to retire from Monte Carlo, but then came back and was able to get a podium result this weekend. Esa-Pekka Lappi raced his first rally of the year. So best Ford is John Armstrong. McElrain further 2 points back. And then, so Martin Sex didn't have any points. Some of the other guys, yeah. So we'll see how that goes, but we'll get back to them more next month. Yeah. So go to the supercars, the Dunlop Sydney 500. And in terms of course, Chaz Mostert is the defending series champion. So there's that because of the championship format. Oh, that's a cool looking car. Wow. Cool looking Toyota. And then latest Subaru, yeah. Formats explained, blah, blah, blah. Teams in revamped Ford lineup can't lead blue oval attack. Okay. Premier supercar liveries. Hills first, Brad Jones, Cameron Hill, Supra. Okay. Yeah, that's a badass looking car, I gotta say. They did a really good job with it. Macaulay Jones car looks. There's a lot going on those. On the window, honestly. But Murray Erebus Camaro got Total Energies. Erebus Rookie Stewart, whatever. Okay. Soup Blanchard. Oh yeah, the liveries for Tickford are the classic ones for Thomas Randall and Cam Waters with Monster Energy and Castrol. So yeah, we'll see this first race. Toyota, of course, coming into supercars with the Walkinshaw United organization, and then of course Brad Jones Racing as well. Ford is gonna have the Red Bull Ampol Racing team with Will Brown, Brock Feeney, Matt Payne, and Kai Allen for Penrite Racing. They were Matt Payne. I think it was a Matt Payne or was it Kai Allen that made that final four. Chaz Mostert, Ryan Wood will be, of course, in Toyotas. Chevrolet Camaros will be David Reynolds, Anton Di Pasquale for Team 18. Then for Premier Racing Team, and then Erebus, and yeah, so that's, and then I forget what that other team is, but whatever. And then you got the Toyotas as well, so we'll see how that goes, and we'll recap it this coming next week. See what happens in the first round of the Supercars Championship. All right, so all right, we did that. So yeah, let's get into it. Truck Series at Echo Park, Atlanta Motor Speedway. I don't really care that they change it to Echo Park. It's just dumb. It's just Atlanta Motor Speedway. 36 trucks for 36 spots, so nobody's going home. Corey Heim will be in the one truck. For Tricon, Clayton Green driving the two for Team Rayum. Adam Andretti driving the 5 for Tricon. Kyle Busch in a 7 for Spire. Let's see. Who else? Ty Dillon driving the 25. Tyler Reif driving the 42. And Richard driving the 45. John Hunter Nemechek back in the 62 for Halmar. Tyler Tomasi for MBM. Hocevar in the 77 again. Justin Carroll after failing to qualify last race. Caleb Costner, I guess that's to fill the field, so everyone will make the show. Dodge won't have to worry about taking a manufacturer provisional there. So so I mean, of course, everything with Atlanta, it's much more condensed, much more tightly packed than what we have usually. And so to win, Richard, well, I was close on the wild card at least. And then you picked the winner. Yeah, both of yours were good there. And then Jesse Love, Anthony Alfredo, he failed to qualify. So there you go. My picks in the truck series went to hell. And so, yeah. So I'll, because you have the algorithm pick, I figure I'll let you go first here for these, and then I'll do mine, and then you can come in with Tate afterwards.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And everything. So yeah, I can pull up. I guess we'll go with the trucks first, obviously. For that. For me, I guess this week, Corey Haim's back. That might make this easier. Let's see, the truck series. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty easy for me. I mean, I think Kyle Busch. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Kyle Busch winning it at Atlanta. It seems like despite all of it, he's been the guy to win at Atlanta. Now running says he's running HendrickCars.com. Let's see if he can add his name to the list of Kyles that have won with HendrickCars.com as a sponsor. So we'll pick him as the winner. I guess for me as a wild card pick, I guess I'm gonna go with Brendan Queen. I'll pick him this week as my wild card.
Okay, that works. For me, I'm gonna go and pick Corey Haim to win because he's won there before. In over the years, he's been good at this track, so I'm just picking Corey Haim for that reason. And it's not the same exact team, but it's he knows the guys. My wild card pick is I mean, this is definitely wild because I don't think Adam Andretti's ever driven an oval race or hasn't driven an oval race in a long, long time. So I'm going with the wildest of wild cards, getting his feet wet before he goes and feels a lot more comfortable at St. Pete the following week. Usually driving TA1 cars with sequential gearboxes and the whole bit, 900 horsepower. So we'll see what Adam Andretti's able to do. So I went full Tricon with that pick. Oh shoot, what is Tate Fogelman saying for this weekend's race?
Saying, as I just put in the numbers here, Tate Fogelman says for this, let's see, he's picking. Wow, he's going Ram. He's picking the 25.
there you go. So there you go. Ty
Ty
Dillon.
Dillon. Wow.
Uh, so yeah, that'd be something. And make me want to puke. But after Tony got wrecked halfway through the race. But oh well, we'll see. I love. I mean, I'm a Dodge guy, so I guess I can't be mad. All right, so the O'Reilly series. Um, I mean, what is it? You picked Austin Hill last week. I think we could do we just swap this week just for fun? Like I'll go Austin Hill and then you go you go Jesse Love.
Uh, yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, so all right. So just I'll say Josh will go Jesse Love to win and your wild card.
Oh,
You go and look at the entry list. There's 39 for 38 for now. I think the 74 will probably fall off the entry list, or whoever the 55 is. I don't know where Joey Gase has the money to run this many crappy cars. Especially when you're putting freaking Instagram influencers in your cars. No, you got rid of the 53, and so now he's got the 35 and the 55, I guess, is what it is. All right. And Cody Ware was pissed off with Hocevar, which is hilarious. There wouldn't be a day where Carson Hocevar doesn't piss somebody off on a racetrack. It must be a characteristic that he has. He does have a punchable face, so it makes a lot of sense.
Wait, my wild card or your wild card for?
Your wild card.
Okay. Yeah, for my wild card. Did I pick last week? Just make sure I don't duplicate. I'll pick Brendan Poole again. He actually had a good run in the Xfinity or the O'Reilly All Parts race last week. Yeah.
That's a really good one. The way he looked for a good amount of the day. It looks like Alpha Prime has made progress as an organization, especially on these plate tracks. And he was up there. I mean, he at least made a move. He tried. That's all you can really ask for. Hank Hill to win and my wild card. Let's see. Can I do that one? I am going to. I mean, I guess it may not be a. Oh, there's my wild card, Ross Chastain. That worked out.
Yeah, that's fair.
Ross Chastain. I didn't know he was in this race, so whatever. He's driving a car that last week finished in the top 5, so there you go. All right, so now on to the Cup Series.
Wait, hold on. We forgot about the.
Oh yeah, we forgot Tate Fogelman.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, Tate Fogelman says the Ryan Sieg wins.
Oh, would be a home win. Ryan Sieg's never won in the Xfinity Series, so that would be a huge one if that were to come off. And don't they have the affiliation with RCR too? Isn't that where their connection is? I can't keep track of all these damn Chevy teams and where their connections are and who they got going on anymore, but
I don't know what their affiliation is.
yeah, I can't keep track of them. I just know there's a hell of a lot of Chevys out there. That's all I know. All right, so okay, let's get to the Cup Series. We will have the Auto Trader 400 at Atlanta. Of course, no practice, just straight up qualifying. Only 2 open cars showing up. No 99 car this week. No 4th car for front row. So no Corey LaJoy, no Chandler Smith, but BJ McLeod is going to show up. It shows Casey Mears was withdrawn. Okay. And then JJ Aliu failed to qualify for the 500. Will go and attempt for this race. So there's that. So there'll be 38 for 40. Nobody failing to qualify. Curious. I mean, it's hard to get it because there's different. They treat Atlanta on Racing Reference still as a 1.5 mile racetrack. They don't separate it as a drafting track, unlike Racing Reference. But I guess you can look at it in like the last however many. What is it? It's been the last 3 years that it's been a super speedway type race. But what are your picks? What are you thinking for the Cup Series at Atlanta?
Yeah, Cup Series at Atlanta. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Ryan Blaney here in Sunday, next Sunday. And I guess my wild card. I'll pick. Pick John Hunter Nemechek.
Both solid picks, very solid picks, especially considering how JHN was running last week. Seems like there's a lot more energy there. At Legacy, cars seem to be better than they have been in the past, so there is that. Probably helps that he's getting the Punani too. I will go. I'll go with Brad Keselowski because RFK's had some good momentum. He had a run there late in that race to try and win it in the 500. Something that he has been good at. It would be a huge boost for him. Of course, Priest winning earlier and the Clash was a big deal for them. I think he's got the momentum and opportunity to do that there, get that win. And my wild card's going to be Todd Gilliland because Todd Gilliland has had good runs there at Atlanta since they made this drafting type race. So he needs to gain a lot of points after last week and after what has been a kind of slow start to the season. So we'll say Todd Gilliland as a wild card. And Tate Fogelman, what does the algorithm tell us?
Well, the algorithm tells us that Connor Zilic is going to win here. So that's big. I mean, no bias here. I mean, wearing the Connor Zilic shirt here, but no bias there. The algorithm remains unbiased. Random number generator here, selecting Connor Zilic here to win at Atlanta.
Which would be in only his, I think his 5th career start.
Yes, his 5th career start.
If he does that, I was watching earlier this morning or afternoon. Kevin Harvick's first career win, which was only in his third career start. And that was at a time when there had only been 4 drivers win their first career race at Atlanta. And then the previous one had been Jerry Nadeau the previous November. Um, and then Kevin Harvick, of course, a couple of races after the untimely passing of Dale Earnhardt. And then, so this would be huge. I'm curious to see the super speedway racing was something that Connor Zilic, it didn't seem to click all that well. He got wrecked by his best friend at Talladega, and he got hurt there. He had to jump out of the car at Daytona because of the shoulder or whatever. And Parker Kligerman won that race, but and then on Sunday, the one time he tried to run up front, it kind of got sketchy for him. So, I mean, if they have a stable, good piece, of course, they've won there before Trackhouse with Suarez, so it's not out of the realm. Randall Burnett was part of that 3-wide photo finish at the end of that race with Kyle Busch a couple of years ago, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. Yeah, man. So tell us what your exploits and everything that went on in the iRacing Daytona 500 and everything else going on the world of iRacing and gaming in the sim segment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, the iRacing Daytona 500. I ran the open setup on Friday night and Sunday morning. So that was 9 p.m. time slot and then the 10 a.m. time slot. The first try, I think we started 11th, and then we were in the top 10, fell a little bit back to mid top, in the top 20, like, 15th or whatever. But then, we just managed to miss all the incidents and stay with the leaders. And, we had our last caution for the race on lap 65. That was pretty wild for iRacing standards. And then, green flag pit stops the rest of the way after that. And we had our first set of green flag pit stops, I think like lap 80 something, I think, or I forget exactly what lap it was, but then our next green flag, and then by that time, it was in just the top 5, because it was basically like the top 15 that were in our own group with a couple of lap cars, and then that group got separated a little bit, and then it was basically like the top 5 or 6 with a handful of lap cars. And then lap 138, we get in for our second to last stop. This should set up the run to the final pit stop, and come out, I think, in 5th place there. But the guy that was running in second, because nobody took tires, middle of 1 and 2, spins out on the apron, just loses it and spins out. And so I really have nowhere to go. And in iRacing, if you go above the double yellow lines before the exit of turn 2, you get a penalty. And I didn't really have any choice, because like he was in the bottom lane of the apron, and it's like, well, you really have nowhere to go but to go back up onto the track and have to take the pass-through penalty for that. And then I tried to do that, but then the other guy was also in front of me, so I kind of like went up into the second lane on there. Probably shouldn't have done that, but it's hard to slow down and then not run into the back of the other guy who also hit the guy that spun out. So then I got up into the second lane, but I went too far up, and I guess the lap car or whatever couldn't avoid me, and we got rear-ended there. And the caution did not come out for this, because in iRacing, if an incident happens below the on the apron or below, it doesn't register a caution, and if everybody keeps going, then caution doesn't register. So no caution for that. And then we got the meatball flag, and we were done first attempt after lap 138, which kind of sucked, because like we were in the top 5, and I was in the top 5, and we're in the lead group, which is what I wanted to be in, coming to that final pit stop and being able to hang in there. And the whole race went caution free, and because of that incident, basically like leader and a couple of lap cars just drove away, and that was it. And the leader, I think, had like a 22-second lead at the end. So that was pretty interesting for Daytona iRacing race, and there's only like 4 lead changes. So this one was like one of the harder ones to probably win if you had a chance there at the end. And the other thing with iRacing is like when you're a small group of like 3 or 4 cars, you don't have to, because like the problem is like once you get into a larger line, everybody starts checking up and you start losing momentum, and that's kind of where like the top comes into play. Is if you can keep going, keep moving forward, you can overtake the bottom line. But then here, if you just have a small group of 3 or 4 guys, like nobody, you're basically running just flat out. You don't have to worry about checking up to not run over the person in front of you. So there's no accordion effect. So that guy just like was able to just use the draft from lapped cars and get a push from lapped cars and just completely drive away from everybody and win with the 20-second lead. So it was really good attempt there. I felt really good about it and everything, but just got caught up in mistakes of other people there. And then the Sunday morning runs, and I was like, well, you want to try it again, because I felt good about the setup and everything. And then didn't go as smoothly, took some damage early, had like 7 minutes of repairs, but then took the repairs and kept getting repairs on ensuing cautions. Fell, almost didn't fall a lap down, but managed to stay on the lead lap through all of that, and then get to the second half of the race. We're back on the repairs have all been finished up, so we're all good to go. And then we just maintained from like, I forget, we're in the top 10, top 15, and then I think a caution came out with like lap 138, lap 140 or something like that, so was able to eclipse the amount of laps I ran in the first attempt. But then caution comes out and the whole field pits, and then I decided to stay out because I'm like, well, you need to make a decision here, because you need to figure out a way to win the race. If we do what everybody else is doing, we'll be in the same spot and everything. So I decided to stay out, and another guy stayed out with me. So 2 cars stayed out on the lead lap, and was able to lead until lap 162 to come in for the final stop. Come in from the final stop, and because our goal was to pit on lap 162 and then be done and run the whole way, and it almost worked. But I took a little bit longer fueling up and everything, and then we got back on track on the lead lap, but then the leaders caught us within, I think, 2 or 3 laps, and then we just got barely overtaken to get put down a lap, but we were able to catch the other 2 cars that pitted with us, so we were all right there. And then they were about to come, like lap 176 was the leaders were going to pit, and I think we were about maybe a couple of laps away from that happening, and then caution came out, and then they all had to pit, so we cycled back around as the leader, or back onto the lead lap after all of that. And then from there is just trying to put ourselves in position to win the race. But then just a handful of cautions that happened after that. Get contact, or had contact, had like 12 incident points, and then got up to 16 incident points, because everything in like iRacing, I don't know what's wrong with iRacing, but the damage model right now in iRacing, they seems like even like the slightest bit of contact registers as a 4X there, which is heavy contact. And then 7 laps to go, we're final restart, 8 laps ago, like lap 192, and then staying in the bottom lane, trying to get up there, fight for the win. And there's a couple of guys on the outside that lose momentum, and they're hanging back, starting to hang back. And then the guy like saw a little bit of a gap between me and the next car in front of me, and he tried to merge back in, but then we made contact, and then iRacing registered it as a 4X. So then now I'm basically finished, because in iRacing, if you get over 17X, it's a penalty, and you have to come in for a drive-through. So had to take the drive through, and that basically ended us because we got lapped on the last lap of the race there. No caution came out. I was hoping for a caution to come out, and no caution came for me to save me there. So, ended up finishing in ninth there, and all but finishing on the lead lap. So yeah, I had a good setup and everything. It's great. Was able to fight up there, lead laps. Feel good about it, but yeah, just didn't come through with it. Again, very hard to win this. And of course, iRacing Super Speedway Racing, just like NASCAR Cup Series, Super Speedway Racing is all about being right place at the right time and making very calculated decision making, which was able to do. But the second one especially, just got caught up in incidents at the wrong time, or whatever, or got caught up in stuff, and then at the end was able to be there, but then had just incidental contact led to penalty there. So that was basically my race there. And then one thing I have criticism of is like when people, I guess, with the way the next gen car on super speedways works, the drafting model very replicative of the current cup car, and of course the outside lane. Once it stalls out, everybody's like trying to go to the inside, and on the restarts everybody's trying to merge to the inside because they know they're all trying to either go single file to save gas or just wait around or everything. And you can't really maintain on the outside lane there, so unless you have people who can push really good. And for people there, they're all just trying to go merge into the middle, and then even if the slightest gap, they're trying to merge in, and that really annoyed me because you're not always going to be clear, and you might cause an incident, or I'm going to have to jump out of the gas to let somebody in and then get run over by somebody potentially behind me. So that kind of annoyed me through that. But there's a couple of times where I was like, I got cut off, someone tried to merge in, I was like, all right, I'm gonna run you over in the next corner, mentally in my mind. But then I knew that if I did that, then that could potentially take me out. So I didn't do that, but definitely had the thought, especially the second one, a lot of times about that. But so that's just, I guess, how the iRacing product is. But on the other hand, I did run one O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race and almost won that. Almost won. Came down to the final lap. Was up front, hanging up there for the lead on. Leading the last couple of laps, making blocks like a Mostyn Hill, right? And then the final lap, the guy behind me, I guess, gets clipped from behind, and he gets spun out. And then immediately, all the momentum is on the top lane now that somebody was trying to run the top lane, and I'm on the bottom lane, and I go try to switch back up on the exit of turn 4 to cover the top, and I lose all my momentum basically, and the guy behind me that was on the top lane uses the draft on me to pass me on the inside, kind of like what Tyler Reddick did to Chase Elliott there on Sunday. So, and then ended up finishing by second by by a nose or a fender. So ended up barely losing in the Xfinity or the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series series race on iRacing there. So, it was a good run there, which especially was pretty interesting, that one, because I had a problem with my steering wheel. So in the middle of the pit stop under caution, I had to fix my steering wheel. So had some technical issues there. But that one, I like the Xfinity or the O'Reilly Series, how that car drafts and maintains versus the Cup car. This Cup car takes a lot of effort to even maintain the outside lane, and then everybody wants to ditch and go to the inside lane anyways, whereas you can sustain the outside lane for a long time and not have to worry about losing the draft or anything like that, like you do in the Cup car. So there's that, and definitely was at least a little bit. They have their pros and cons. Bump drafting was better in the Cup car. You can't actually overtake for the lead in the Cup car, but if you put in all the effort and all that. But at least the Xfinity car, you can hang and side draft and maintain without worry about losing the draft there. So there's pros and cons to each, I guess. But almost won the Xfinity or the O'Reilly Series there. So I'm gonna take a long time to get used to that name change there. But you can see how it all happened on my streams for iRacing at Twitch You Sailor 2, you can go on there and watch the 2 replays if you want to, watch 3 hours of iRacing each there on where you can, click through and try to see what happened there. So you can go there and watch all that and see how all of that unfolded there. So, of course, social media, JP Huffine, Twitter, Josh Huffine Photography on Instagram on there. Of course, our Group Share Podcast YouTube on there, and everything. So yeah, go in there and subscribe to us on there and leave a like or comment on there. So yeah, glad racing's back. Feel a lot, even though, this race, Daytona 500, kind of ended similarly to years past, at some reason feel a little bit more optimistic than the last couple of years running the Daytona 500. So, definitely feel a little bit more optimism this season going into Atlanta than previous years for sure.
Yeah, I agree, man. On one hand, I want to see Chase, Briscoe go out there and recover somehow, some way, gain some points back, knowing that they're going to end up having to go to, they're going to go to Vegas, which is a good track for him. So if he can get some good momentum at Atlanta, cut that deficit down a little bit, go to Vegas where he almost won the fall race, and has been a track that he's been good at over the years. I think that's where he can go and kind of switch things up. And then Phoenix, where I think he probably had the fastest car but couldn't keep tires under it. So there's something there. There's some juice, and it's nice to have that. The last few years have just been negative, for sure. And with the way things are in the world, we want a respite. We want to get away. We want to be able to enjoy NASCAR racing. We got IndyCar racing coming back here in a couple of weeks as well. Formula One's coming on. So hot and heavy motorsports, and we'll talk about it here on the GSP. Of course, follow Josh everywhere you mentioned. You can follow us, of course, on the Grifter Podcast YouTube page. You can also follow GSP 1428. You can find the Gripster Podcast at podbean.com or philipgmatthew.com. Follow me on Instagram, PGMGSP28. That's basically where I live now. I don't really go on Twitter or Blue Sky at this point, but basically on Instagram. And I probably use a couple other things, but not so much. Not as much. I'm on WhatsApp, but I use WhatsApp mostly to go talk to Amy. So with that, we will be back for episode 304 of the GSP to talk about everything that happened at Atlanta. And then we're going to be previewing the Indy cars. So that'll be huge. That'll be great. Talk about everything in Atlanta, NASCAR, going into they'll have Vegas, I think, for Cup and Xfinity. You'll have Indy cars and trucks at St. Petersburg. Formula One coming around soon. We'll talk about Supercross and Supercars from this past week, and everything else going on in the world of racing and sports. Talk about here on the Gripster Podcast. So for Josh, I'm Phil. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing, liking the whole bit. Give us any feedback, whatever, and we'll see you next time.